Welcome to the Whisky Couch. My name is Gustav Muller. Today's video is all about how to enjoy whiskey, the basics of how to enjoy whiskey. After all, in life, it's the little things, the basics that often make a very big difference. So first up, number one, if you want to enjoy whiskey, you need the right attitude. The right attitude is the very first step to enjoying anything in life. So when it comes to enjoying whiskey, it's not only about drinking whiskey. It's not only about drinking liquor. It's not only about having something in your glass to drink. It's about much more than that. It is about respecting, appreciating and even understanding whiskey culture, the history of whiskey, the heritage of whiskey. If you want to enjoy whiskey, you need the right setting. Choose the place where you want to enjoy your whiskey. It's easy to enjoy whiskey when you enjoy where you are. Sometimes you want to be alone. You want to enjoy your whiskey alone because you want to think about life. You just want to relax. You want to do it in your favorite chair, in your favorite room, maybe in front of the fireplace, maybe listening your favorite music or watching your favorite television program. But other times you want good company. It's easy to enjoy a good whiskey when you enjoy the company that you have. So choose the right people who you want to be with you when you enjoy whiskey. Choose the right place. If you want to enjoy whiskey, you need a whiskey that you can enjoy. In one of our previous videos, I talked about the different categories, the different types of whiskeys that you get. You get a single malt whiskey. You get a single grain whiskey. You get a blended whiskey. You get blended malt whiskies like this one, for instance, Milky Shoulder. In making this whiskey, they take different single malts and they blend them together. But you also get peated and smoky whiskies. You also get bourbon whiskies. And in that video, I explained that one need to discover your preferred type of whiskey so that you can discover your favorite whiskey in that category of whiskey. Why is this important? Because let's face it, it can be overwhelming. You walk into a liquor store, into a whiskey shop, and you've got this shelf in front of you with hundreds of whiskeys, and you want to buy a whiskey. Which one do you buy? Where do you start looking? But if you know what your preferred category or type of whiskey is, then you know, I want the blended malt whiskies, or I want the single malt whiskies matured in sherry casks, or I want the single malt whiskies matured in ex-bourbon cask. You know where to look at. It just makes things so much easier. So if you want to enjoy whiskey, pick the right whiskey to enjoy. Once you've got the whiskey, you need the glass. You need to pick a glass that'll make it easy for you to enjoy your whiskey. Maybe you prefer a good old Glencairn whiskey glass. Maybe you prefer this type of shaped glass. I prefer a tulip-shaped glass with a short stem for whiskey tasting. Just be careful for open-shaped glasses because it allows the wonderful aromas to escape before you can actually enjoy them. If you use these shaped glasses, it will at least keep the aromas in to a large extent so that you can enjoy the aromas of the whiskey. Once you've got your drum poured, it's important to just enjoy the color. I got this color chart off the internet, and it makes it so interesting. You can take your whiskey and you can decide, you know, what kind of color am I looking at here. It can be anything from a very light white wine, pale straw color, right to the very dark colors. If it's a light colored whiskey, then of course you're looking at a fairly young whiskey, or perhaps a whiskey that was matured in ex-bourbon casks, like for instance this Glenmorangie, very light in color. If you look at a darker color whiskey, then it's either an older whiskey or it's a whiskey like this one, matured in ex-sherry casks or ex-port casks. So it tells you something about the whiskey in anticipation of what you are going to taste a bit later. Once you've enjoyed the color, you get to the next step, which is enjoying the aromas of the whiskey. When doing that, you bring the glass closer and closer to your nose until you get that slight alcohol burn. And that is where you stop. At that position, that is where you're going to discover the aromas that this whiskey is going to allow you to enjoy. So if you're with other people and you see someone sticking his nose into the glass, don't think that is the correct way. You need to find your way. And it will be wherever you start to experience that alcohol burn. Don't go any further, because then you're just going to smell alcohol. So then you take short, deep sniffs, take it away, and then try to give whatever you're getting in the aroma, just for fun, try to give it names. What is this what I'm tasting? Is it sweet? Is it sour? Is it spicy? Is it vanilla? Is it caramel? What is it that I'm getting? And don't make it complicated. Just enjoy it. The aromas of the whiskey. And then we get to the flavors of the whiskey. When it gets to sipping a whiskey, less is always more. You don't have to down the whiskey. You don't have to take a mouthful. You take a tiny little sip, swirl it around in your mouth. And the first sip, as with the nosing, the first and second nose is just to get your nose accustomed to the alcohol, and then by the third time that you sniff, you'll get the aromas. The same with sipping. The first sip will be to get your mouth accustomed to the alcohol, and then by the second and third sip, that's where you discover the flavors. Monkey shoulder. The first sip, just getting over the alcohol, and you spend time with your whiskey. Don't rush this whole process. Spend time. Some flavors in a whiskey will only reveal themselves once you spend time with it. It can be after 15 minutes, 20, even 30 minutes, and you will discover more and more and more flavors. Maybe you want to add a drop of water, because that's the age-old debate, with water or without water. When I do whiskey tasting and pairing events, I advise people to start sipping a whiskey neat. Just introduce yourself without adding anything to the whiskey. If the alcohol is a bit harsh, or maybe you want to let it open up a bit, you add just a few drops of water. Sweetness is there, the spiciness is there. How do they balance with each other? Is there vanilla? Is there caramel? Is there a fruitiness? Is there something else in the whiskey? And if it's still a bit too alcoholic for you, you can add some more water. I say to people, don't make it complicated. Add water until you can enjoy the whiskey. That's what it's all about, enjoying the whiskey. If you're in a country where the room temperature is above 25 degrees, like it is the case here in South Africa often, then you want to add a cube of ice just to cool it down a bit. That's how my wife enjoys her whiskey, with 1 or 2 cubes of ice, as long as you enjoy it. Me personally, I take a few drops of water, and that is how I enjoy my whiskey. Enjoy pairing your whiskey with food. We've got a wonderful video, how to pair whiskey and food, that can give you just a few pointers in terms of how you can do that, as long as you enjoy it, as long as you have fun with your whiskey. In conclusion, I've got 3 words for you. Enjoy your whiskey responsibly. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel by simply clicking the subscribe button. And I will see you again tomorrow. because there's more whiskey tasting, more whiskey pairing, and whiskey reviews to come. Sláinte.